And we are live here with Dude, What's the Bid, episode 44. My name is Kevin Hill. I'm with Brush Pass Research, joined as always by Casey Larkin. Casey, it's been a few weeks. How's life treating you?
Yeah, Kev, it's been a hot sec, but all is well in my world. Staying busy. I know you have been as well. I guess you're there at the Broker Carrier Summit, aren't you?
Yeah, the Broker Carrier Summit. If you can't read it all the way back here, Broker Carrier Summit. We're kind of on the final day. Tomorrow morning we have a couple of networking events, but this is the final day of content at the conference, and it is going fantastic. It's just out of this world. And we're here. I think FTR does their conferences in the same venue, but Union Station, downtown Indianapolis. It's all this old train station. I'm like in a ticket booth right now.
No way.
What are you
Very
saying?
cool.
Yeah,
I was just,
Art Deco all over the place. It's wonderful. Wonderful. Did karaoke last night. I did not sing, but it was a good event by all. It's great to see brokers and carriers being in the same room, networking, talking about what they like, what they don't like, working through their issues. So it's like marriage counseling, I guess.
something like that
It's
for
something
sure.
like that. Yeah.
I'm sure the FaceTime definitely helps.
It
Yeah,
does. It does. It's it just moves everything forward so much easier than doing everything on the phone or on Zoom. Being able to meet everybody face to face, have dinner, have a drink, and it's just nice and relaxing.
yeah, for sure. I'm sure it's a great way to create long-term value, whether you're a broker looking for trucks to haul your freight, or your truck trying to find more consistent
Flows.
lanes to run, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
there's just like so much noise in the space these days, fraud, and just, it's got to be impossible to try and find new brokers on the spot market if you're not out there shaking hands and making
hmm
relationships with people. It just seems like everybody's got their guard up. So anything you can do
yeah.
to reduce that friction, I think definitely behooves folks.
Definitely it removes that friction, like almost totally, right? I mean, basically, you're meeting people who, whatever side, right? Whether you're a broker or carrier, people who are dedicating the time and the money to come out here and network and meet new brokers and new carriers. So they're the quality players, right? And it's hard to do fraud if you do business with people that you met. So it's always a plus.
True that. Yeah. Handshake goes a long way.
It does. It does go a long way, and that's it's part of sales and lubricating sales. And we have a great sales show coming for you today. We got Ben Tschirgi joining us. He just recently started the Science of Sales. He spent a few years, working at Cowan, becoming VP of brokerage sales over there. But he's out on his own right now, and he's got a cool and interesting product. And we're going to be talking about that, talking about sales, and talking about the life of a broker, I suppose, right? Or the life of a former broker now. So we'll bring Ben on right now. Hello, Ben. How are you doing?
Hey guys, what is up? Thanks for having me on. Thanks for carving out some time from the Broker Carrier Summit, Kevin. That's like the conference that I've heard that like is like the it's like that almost anti-conference is what I've heard people say is
Yeah,
like
yeah,
it's like you can
Right.
actually have a lot of discussions and stuff.
yeah.
It's not like your typical stuffy conference.
It's not stuffy at all. It's very blue collar, right? I'm kind of dressed up today for whatever reason because I brought it, and I guess I got to use it if I brought it. I should have worn it down here. What I wore yesterday was a baseball, a really fantastic baseball jersey that the board made, and just old style baseball lettering, Berkeley Carrier Summit, my name and number on the back. But it's a very blue collar conference. I mean, people are coming in off the road to attend it. There's no fancities or niceties. It's just it's kind of like a good old home time thing. So
Nice.
so cool. It's cool. But Ben, introduce yourself and tell us what you're up to now.
Yeah, so Ben Tschirgi, I was thanks for the introduction. Yeah, I'm still a recovering freight broker, former freight broker. I spent 10 years in the business, but really, what I have learned, if I've learned one thing, is that once you get into freight brokerage, you kind of it's a struggle to get out. It's like I think I've been out of the game for now a couple months, and it's like even still, like I wake up sometimes in the middle of the night or just like in the middle of the afternoon, like in a panic, like, like I've got to check on my loads. Like,
Yeah.
where am I? Like, how many open loads do I have left for today? And so that doesn't go away. I can confirm. But I spent 10 years, started out as basically cradle to grave freight broker. So I was calling shippers and then I was tracking my loads, covering my loads, doing all that fun stuff. Got a chance to be a general manager of an office and kind of build up an office in Atlanta, and did that for a while. That was really cool. I jumped ship real quick and spent a few months, a very brief stint with Trucker Tools on the SaaS side, which was really cool to see what that side looked like. Then went back to Cowan as a VP of sales and ran the entire brokerage sales organization for a couple of years. And then we sold late last year to Schneider National. And so stayed on for a couple months to help with that transition. And then I kind of decided to, what I've really been wanting to do for a while, which was really go out on my own and really start my own thing. So I've been really, really excited about starting Science of Sales, which is really kind of taking everything that I've done in the past and throwing it out the window and trying to really start from scratch and do something really that's leveraging AI and going in a totally different direction. And really seeing like how far you can push automation, but still maintain that like human connection and to build that trust.
It's awesome. That's awesome. So tell us a little bit more about Science of Sales and exactly what that is.
Right. Yeah. And like how you think about selling too. If I can piggyback on Kevin's question, sorry to cut you off, Ben. Looks like you guys kind of have it's got to be a scientific approach. Everybody probably has a different value proposition, so it seems interesting.
Yeah. It's so my approach to it, and everybody that I always, whenever I hop on calls with people, they're like, so I checked out your website and it's like the most generic thing ever. I have no idea. It's like the most ambiguous thing ever. I have no idea what you actually do. So basically the long and short of it is I'm a cold outreach agency. So I help clients on all different kinds of industries grow their sales. And really it's cold outreach is what I do. So that can be cold email, that could be a multi-channel kind of omni-channel kind of sequence, whatever you want to do. But it's basically helping people take all of the complicated factors and stuff that goes into cold outreach, simplifying it, doing it for people. And then from there, what I've found very quickly is there's lots of different sort of side projects I do for clients or that come up as I'm doing my own prospecting and sales. And so I'm sort of spinning off of these tools. And the idea is that over the next 12 to 18 months or so, I really want to try to release some different products that any sales rep can hop into and could find useful. Working on some really cool things. One is this Science of Sales CRM refinery. The idea behind it is like everybody's got a bunch of junk and crap in their CRM. And like, whether, you actually have like some sophisticated tools that are actually taking a look at that data and saying like, okay, like this contact viewed our email newsletter, or this contact is, responding to a lot of our posts on social media, whatever you have, or maybe you have nothing like that. And it's just a total graveyard and, nobody's really looking at their CRM. You kind of have both ends of the spectrum. So
I think it's a natural rule that 99% of businesses that certainly have been around more than 3 years, their CRM is just a graveyard of, I don't know. Is this lead even there anymore? Is this company still exists? Are these phone numbers really correct? Are these emails? It doesn't really ever get cleaned out.
Yeah, I know when, for a while there, I was like, nobody's really looking at my CRM many years ago. And I was like, I'm just going to start, just to save time, I'm going to start entering in all my companies as Sheridan, Wyoming, that they're just based in Sheridan, Wyoming, because it was the first thing that I could pull up quickly, S on my keyboard. I was like, it doesn't matter. I don't care. And so I'm sure years later, somebody at some point looked in my CRM and was like, why is he prospecting in the middle of this middle of nowhere, Wyoming? He's got 1 billion customers that are all based out of Sheridan, Wyoming. But yeah, I don't know. Casey, how do you manage your CRM, or what do you any CRM hacks?
So I used Salesforce for the longest time when I first kind of got into the corporate world. A mixture of Salesforce and Google Sheets. That was at FreightWaves, right? And it felt like we grew pretty quickly and probably didn't have the best strategy in terms of data formatting and hygiene when we got started. And it seems like these, if your company grows, right, your CRM kind of snowballs. You probably hire a HubSpot, internal manager or a Salesforce manager to run that for you. Maybe you change the way that you guys decide to record information in there. And, it seems like there's just a lot missed. Now I use HubSpot. HubSpot seems to be pretty cool. I've seen some cool stuff that allows you to connect LinkedIn into CRMs these days, but it just seems like all the data is so disparate. And I'm wondering, does AI allow you to figure out how to use these disparate pieces of information and kind of interpret that and allow you to get some heuristics from it or some actionable insights?
Yeah, so there's definitely and there's a lot of cool things you can do. I saw somebody the other day that was talking about how they have a automation set up where basically anybody that likes their LinkedIn posts or their company LinkedIn posts automatically, their email gets scraped and they get plugged into a sequence that's, going to start hitting them LinkedIn email, hey, and start them into a certain campaign. And depending on what kind of posts they're liking, they group them into certain categories so you can really narrow it in. And I think that's pretty cool. What I really like to do and what I've been playing around with more is trying to build out an in-house research team where you're leveraging AI and you're leveraging all of this cool stuff, but you're really trying to take a more focused approach that instead of just scraping whatever you can find on the web, because there's so many tools that do that, and you can get that data at an initial point, but it still requires action on somebody else's end to actually go and read your blog or read your newsletter or watch your podcast, listen to your podcast. And so if they're not doing that, how do you drive that traffic, and how do you find out? Because there's definitely people sitting in your CRM that do want to hear from you, but it's finding that information and just doing that grunt work for people. That's to me is the annoying part, that if you can take that part out and then say hey, you need to focus on these 10, 20 prospects in your CRM. I think they actually do want to hear from you. And that's how you kind of empower salespeople to go and actually enjoy their work.
Interesting.
It is because salespeople shouldn't be researching. They shouldn't be researching all this stuff. They should be on the phone selling, right? So if you cut out the mundane research of just building a prospecting list, whether it's in your CRM or outside of your CRM, um, everyone's just going to be much more productive as salespeople, right? They're going to be contacting more people. They're going to be setting up more, discovery calls or demos or, that second stage and working deals instead of spending. Because I know in a lot of brokerages, in a lot of sales jobs, you're as a salesperson, you're responsible for building that prospecting list, which sometimes those are two very different skill sets. Building a list and doing the research and actually selling. Two very different. You can be really good at one and really bad at the other, and likewise be reversed as well. So expecting salespeople to be good at both, sometimes a recipe for underperformance.
Yeah. It blew my mind when I went to Trucker Tools and left the freight brokerage world that like they had a marketing department that was like generating leads for their sales team. And I was like, what? Like, this is wild. Like, you mean like, we don't just like, we don't just like have a phone at our desk and like our laptop and we're like, okay, here we go. We're going to find some leads to throw on a discovery call or whatever it is. And I think that's probably when I don't know exactly what year you started Brush Pass Research, but I found that really fascinating when I stumbled across you guys. I was like, wow, like that makes a lot of sense, especially for this industry it's so small. Everybody knows each other. Like you got to get those contacts and you got to know like who the decision makers are at each company is so important.
As quickly as possible, right? As quickly, if you want to scale, you gotta have that information as quickly as possible. So if you're a brokerage and you have this huge CRM and you don't know which leads you should be going after, it's a a needle in a haystack type of
Right.
situation, right? And it just slows you down.
Right.
It slows down the sales process. And if you can go in, clean that up, if you just have a list of great qualified leads, you accelerate your sales process.
Right. The 20% of the accounts to spend the 80% of your time on or something like that. Ben, what do you think are like the most critical pieces of information to surface for that salesperson to do the outreach, right? And just like have the information at their fingertips that they need to like do what they're good at.
Yeah, I would say the first thing would be like, do you actually have the right decision maker? You might even right. Like when I was in the freight tech side for a brief period, it was like we might have had a great company that was on a demo call and we're like, oh man, we got so and so broker, they're a top 100 broker, like we've got them on a demo call, but it's right, like we've got
like a customer rep or something.
Yeah. It's like they just clicked on our website and signed up for a demo. So it's like, do you even have the decision maker? Or maybe you've got somebody who's like a sales manager or a director of sales. But part of the problem too, I always found, especially in logistics, is like there's 1,000 VP of sales at every single company. It's like, which VP of sales is right? That's true at a lot of companies, other industries too, I found. It's like, okay, yeah, you have the job titles that make up your ideal customer profile, but like who's actually the decision maker? That to me is like one of the main things. It's like, okay, who's actually the decision maker? And then are they at all remotely interested, have a need, looking curious, have some sort of spend? There's lots of cool hacks that I've seen salespeople do, finding people that recently were promoted or hired into a role. Like those people usually have some ability to enact some sort of change and have some buying power early into that process. So that's a good one, but like trying to go a little bit deeper than that. So probably those two things mainly that I've found is, are they actually the decision maker? Do you have somebody that can actually make a decision? And do you have some sort of intent data there that says they're right?
Right. How would you go about finding who like the actual decision maker is at a company?
Yeah, so that's what I've been experimenting with and been developing with this process. So I think the best way to do it, I think what a lot of companies do too, is they might have like a business development team, and they might have some people that are going, and whether you're making cold calls, sending cold emails, or whatever you're doing, you're probably doing that grunt work of you're dialing each potential contact it might be and asking like, hey, are you the right contact? Who handles this? Who's the right contact? Or you might be outsourcing that to an appointment setting company. But really, I kind of want to split the difference and not be an appointment setting company for people, but a really streamlined way to have our in-house research team get that data for you that doesn't cost like $1 billion to like have some people that are just one by one cranking out cold calls. And so I've always found cold email works the best. I've done a lot with cold calling. There's a lot of really cool like parallel phone dialers out there, power dialers out there. The AI, have you guys used any like AI parallel phone dialers or any of that AI phone stuff? Like some of those things are pretty crazy.
I've seen like some of the agentic stuff, and I know Kevin uses some cool agentic stuff for surveys, but like, are you talking about a dialer that like will dial 10 people at the same time and like
yeah
one that answers?
Yeah. And you can tell sometimes when you're on the receiving end of that, where it's like you hear like that beep in the background, and it's like there's like that like 2-second delay where they like hop in. It's like you can tell, oh, okay, you were calling like my number and like 8 others at the same time. But I've played around with those, and they're cool when they work. But I've always found myself personally that nothing works better than cold email. If you can get cold email right, it's really, really hard to get it right. So many things get that, but
it is. Cold email is tough, and it's getting tougher every day. But there are some rules of the road that are best practices with that, and one of it is keep it short and sweet and simple. And leave out a lot of the details that you want. It seems like a lot of when it comes to cold email, people want to make the sell during that email. You're just setting up a meeting. That's it. That's all you're selling at that point.
Exactly. Yeah. If you try to do like this whole long, winded like 3-paragraph cold email, that's going to go right. Yeah. It's going to go right to the spam folder after you send like 10 of those and nobody replies. But yeah, you're just trying to get that reply and continue that conversation. Add some kind of quick value or some kind of value prop that piques their interest, right? And cold email is something too that's been crazy. Like you've got the parallel phone dialers, power dialers, AI cold callers on the calling side, and then on the email side, it's like what everybody's doing now are buying like 1 billion different domains, warming the mailboxes, warming domains, and you've got this whole like creating this whole email infrastructure that is pretty wild, and it's crazy how easy it is to do. And to your point, Kevin, it's like easier than ever, and it's more crowded than ever because there's so many tools that make it so simple. Whereas like a couple of years ago, it was brutal to try to do that for cold email and create this whole email infrastructure itself. But now there's like tons of tools that do it for you in like 5 seconds.
Which brings down the quality sometimes because now anyone can do it. The learning curve is kind of flat now, right? It's kind of flat, so anyone can do it, and at that point, everyone starts doing it. And when everyone starts doing it, most people do it really badly.
Right. And the principles. The cool thing is things change, but the principles don't really change. Like to your point of like, is it relevant? Personalizing each email. I think what I've found recently, last like 6 months, is like it's so important to make sure every single email that goes out on the cold email side is so personalized and so unique. If you send the same copy paste generic template, even if you're using some basic like spin syntax where you're changing up some of the wording here and there, like that's not enough. The algorithms are getting better and better to determine,
Hmm.
okay, is this spam? No. Is this actually needs to be delivered to the inbox? Yep. So it's like you really have to, whether you take the time yourself to craft those, or you really pay to get AI
Yeah.
to help you in a smart way to personalize those. You have to be really careful and put a lot of effort into it.
Yeah, very careful. And I think, yeah, Woody, we'll see. To the point. It needs to be to the point, which is definitely correct, right? Do it right. It pays a lot of dividends. I think that was your preferred method, as a broker, right? Was cold emails.
So when I started out, it was all cold calling. I loved
Yeah.
cold calling as a broker because and I would really try when I was on the phone to get the right contact, get an email, and then go forward from there. But what I found, so it was a combination of the two
Hmm.
when I was a broker, but also a lot. I mean, a lot that was 10 years ago, and so a lot has changed, and
A lot
I'm
of
trying
change.
a billion different things. But yeah, and to your point, Woody, yeah, time is money. Like
Yeah.
you as a freight broker, it's great to make 100 cold calls every day when you don't have a book of business and you don't have any loads to track. But once
Hmm.
you build that book of business up, like how are you supposed to like keep going? You almost have to go to cold email as a broker because you just don't even have the time in the day.
Especially if you're cradle to the grave, right? Cradle to the grave. I was cradle to the grave. But you get enough. You build enough. You build up your book of business, and that's going to consume all your time plus more than 40 hours, right? You start getting calls at 2 a.m. Because of this problem or that problem, and prospecting just kind of goes out the window because cold calling, you have to sit down, you have to be focused, you have to just run, not run, but you have power hours, right, where you can knock out a bunch of calls, but sometimes you can't do that, and you have to lean on other methods.
Yeah, it's and I do not feel jealous of shipping managers, logistics managers that like just get called by, especially in a down market. And you've got every
Yeah,
single sales manager at a freight broker screaming at their sales reps every day, like, we need to make more calls. Come on, we gotta hit that gong. And so like everybody's just crushing these shipping managers and warehouse managers. It's it's like
yeah,
it's gotta be brutal for those guys right now.
it's got to be. It must be, right, Casey? I mean, can you imagine that?
Yeah, I can imagine. I've seen scenarios like that before, and yeah, you know, those type of guys smile and dial, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of what brokerage is, especially if you're working spot. Ben, you like trying to like you mentioned working with other industries as well. I don't know what does science of sales look like in 5 or 10 years?
Yeah.
What are you excited about doing for folks, or how do we change the game here?
Yeah. So what I've found too in the short time that I've been doing this is if I create this amazing, sales machine, cold outreach machine for people, and then I give them the keys to the castle on it. Like I can't give those keys to like a billion people all competing in the same industry in the same niche. So what I'm really trying to do with Science of Sales is try to install these cold outreach systems for clients and help them dominate their niche. So I've been focused first on kind of what I know. So like freight forwarders has been my kind of next leap. I'm trying to steer clear of the freight brokerage space. I've survived so long, and then I've got some interesting clients like legal recruiting client. I've kind of made these connections in a couple different industries. I didn't really think about going in. I kind of went into this pretty blind, just knowing that I wanted to really help other people dominate their industry and their niche, and use those same principles of personalization and optimizing and centralizing cold outreach, and try to implement those into other industries. And so what I've found too is you really have to take the time. I'm actually trying to go slower when I first started Science of Sales, I thought like, okay, I'm going to build this thing. It's going to be great. Everybody's going to be banging down my door. And it's been great. But what I found is like, I knew logistics for 10 years and I was really good at knowing about logistics and selling to logistics. And there's something about really knowing an industry and really knowing a niche. And so what I'm trying to do is slow down and really take my time. So right now I'm really focused on legal recruiting. I'm really focused on freight forwarders. Very interesting time to be selling for freight forwarders. What I found is it's a really great time for freight forwarders to be out and trying to really let this cold outreach machine go, because every shipper wants to have conversations about international freight. The other week, like
a lot of questions.
Yeah, lots of questions. Like,
questions.
we find bonded warehousing.
Yeah.
We're like, tariffs. Okay, we were doing 90% of our imports from China. Now we're having a different conversation. It's been kind of a wild couple of weeks. I'm really trying to focus. Like, back to your question, like I'm really trying to almost slow down a little bit and focus on a couple industries and do those really well before I keep leapfrogging around to other industries. At first, my goal was I'm just going to sell to everybody and anybody who wants to talk to me. And, that goes really well until you're going 1,000 different directions all at once.
Yeah.
Stay a little more focused than that.
And it's a challenge everyone faces. It's something that you just have to go through, because it happens every single time. And I was filming a quick podcast yesterday here at BCS with Will Jenkins, and he put out this phrase that I keep on repeating over the last couple of days: is sometimes you got to slow down to run fast.
Mm-hmm.
You got to slow down. Yeah, you got to slow down, focus, so you can go fast. And it sounds like that's kind of what you're doing right now as well.
Slow is smooth is fast.
Yeah. Slow down, get the process really, really, really tailored in and dialed into whatever niche I'm in, and then turn up that knob and boom.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going fast now. And that's true for like anything too, whether you're testing like cold calling or cold emailing. Like, you want to build a sequence. I always start with a cold email. I'll test like 20 different variations of a cold email, and then and really send a small volume right before I like crank that dial up, because you really want to make sure that message is optimized before has that reply rate that you're looking for before you crank that dial up. And something I've found, I've learned a quick lesson there about, like really dialing in, okay, what industries, where can I really add a lot of value, and then really focus and optimize and go from there. Yep.
It's very important. It's very important. What are some other lessons? How long have you been doing science? When did you leave and start?
Yeah, that is a great question. I think I left in February. The days just kind of blur together. I think.
Yeah.
So definitely some lessons that I've learned early on. I think I was most nervous about, like, at first, just a lot of the how do I go about like health insurance? How do I go about like things like that? But like ultimately, what I always found, like in logistics and trucking, like in art, it always seemed like insurance premiums were like horrible, and like was like, man, I know I'm working an office job here, but like the benefits stink. So like actually that part of it has been not so stressful, because like my benefits still kind of stink, but they're not any worse than they were. So that's good.
Let me know if you need a health insurance guy. I got a guy.
Oh, there you go. Okay. All right, cool. We gotta talk then. But I think one of the hardest things that I didn't expect going into was, like, I had a really fun time, and it was really exciting. I viewed kind of like social media and like that part of it, and the marketing and branding was really fun. Something that I looked forward to when I was at Cowen. It's just been tough getting started doing it myself, because it's like it feels so much more personal now, where it's like, okay, I'm not selling this, trucking company or whatever brokerage service and just having a fun time doing it. Like, I'm kind of selling myself, and it's tough. It's kind of broke me a bit at times. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah.
But let's talk about your social media marketing and content, because it is original. I like the Steve Jobs kind of post, the black turtleneck, the kind of out there type of stuff.
Yeah. And it is really, I enjoy doing that. I think maybe the lesson is it's a reoccurring lesson maybe I have for myself over the years of like, I got to take myself not so seriously, which sounds weird, especially since I do lots of crazy things and all the time, and like have no problem posting videos where I'm like I'm dancing mermaid with post-it notes on my chest, but like yeah. But the reality is, like, I still, like, I don't know. It's a very, I guess it's a very human thing to like kind of question, like, okay, like, is what I'm doing, am I on the right track? Like, it's very scary to do something where you are putting yourself out there and doing your own thing. So that part's been unexpectedly difficult, where I'm kind of relearning that sort of like, okay, I need to not take myself so seriously here. And also find it, like, I need to find the time to like prioritize these things, to do the social media stuff, to keep putting the word out there, because once it's kind of like that lesson I learned 10 years ago as a freight broker, once you get a couple customers going, like, it's really easy to get bogged down again. And, you gotta, so I'm trying to build those systems up and start to slowly build out a team that can kind of take some of that off of me, and of course use all of the technology and AI that I possibly can to eliminate the easy stuff.
Yeah, man.
It's all about automating.
Lather, rinse, and repeat where possible. It's interesting. I love to think about the science of the psychology of sales too, right? And there's like a lot of science behind it. I think I found. You ever read a book called Pitch Anything by Orrin Koff by any chance?
No. What's that about?
It's about the science of sales. Essentially, this guy, Orrin, was a legendary pitch guy in Silicon Valley who was like a decent sales guy, and then decided to dive into the neuroscience behind what makes people interested. He talks about neuroepinephrine and dopamine and, this croc brain that people have, right? And the initial reaction is, I don't want to hear it. The kind of exception to that rule is you tell somebody something new, right? It kind of like creates a spark. And then you got to kind of like introduce a risk, right? Like there's like a neuroepinephrine, I guess, that gets triggered, and that's like your kind of fight or flight, chemical that gets flowing in your brain. So it's like,
it's
very interesting stuff to think about. I would encourage you to read it. Sorry, go ahead.
It's kind of the whole principle of people are naturally resistant, so you have to throw them something unexpected, right? Whether it's a very interesting idea or something that they didn't think about, you kind of have to capture their attention like that, right? Something unexpected, not really a shock. Shock does work, but something unexpected that kind of, that disrupts that fight or flight, because usually it's flight. They're usually trying to get away from you. But if you can disrupt that, it pulls them in, right? Something interesting that pulls them in, and you have to do that from the jump.
Yeah, totally. And it is really interesting of like, nobody likes to be sold to, and yet like you got to do it, especially if you're in sales. That's pretty important.
You have to do it.
But like, I do think the sales rep that I strive to be, and myself, selling my own services, but like also like helping other people, is like, and the kind of the person that I want to like form a relationship with if I'm buying from another vendor is like somebody that actually does treat me like a human. And I think that's the tough thing that I'm trying to navigate is I really want to empower companies and empower myself, empower other people to retain that like very human element, but really while still leveraging AI. And that can be really difficult because like, you'll see, especially now, like whether it's blogs or it could be LinkedIn posts
Mhm.
or just everything, like there's so much AI that's out there and it's starting to become so ingrained with like everything we interact with that it's getting tougher and AI is getting better and better. So it's like trying to see like, okay, what's authentic, what's real, what's human is like
Mhm.
getting harder than ever. And so like I think that's a core mission of mine is to, yes, like do all this cool stuff with leveraging AI, but also to just like allow people to be more human and to form those genuine connections and relationships with people as opposed to
Yep.
just selling and being a bot and doing those like really spammy kind of things that nobody likes.
Yes. Yes, the spammy things. They're out there all over the place, aren't they?
Somehow, because I would think people wouldn't do them if they didn't work.
Sure. I guess in some sense they do work, right? I mean, so they work enough to that you
Yeah.
can keep doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Now, I mean, we talked about some tools being more accessible and like, everybody, it getting a little bit more crowded. It'll be interesting to see what happens 5, 10 years from now. Like, will conferences blow up even more? Like, because people are craving that human connection, kind of like when we were all in isolation during COVID. And then it was like,
Yep.
okay, now we're all back. Let's go to every single conference we can. But it almost like, do we all start to get this like AI fatigue together where we're like, I want like those in-person meetings with people again. I want
Yep.
conferences. I want like somebody bringing me a box of donuts, at my warehouse. Like maybe we'll crave that again because that's, we're getting inundated with all of this AI bot spam. And so hopefully my hope is that Science of Sales can help people build those human connections with people and do it in a way that's efficient, optimized, but also doesn't lose that human component.
I think we will. I think we will, and I think I'm sitting here at the Broker Carrier Summit, where meetings between brokers and carriers kind of migrated a long time ago to the phone calls. Now, now that's being replaced by automation, and I think certainly everybody here craves that face-to-face meeting, to build trust and relationships, and to do to do to do business together. Yep,
Yeah.
I definitely. Well, Ben, thanks for dropping by here on Dude, What's the Bid? And how does our viewers or listeners reach out, contact you, learn more about Science of Sales?
I am going to do a dangerous thing here and just give my email. So my email is ben@scienceofsales.io. A lot easier than having to remember anything else. So yeah, just shoot me an email, ben@scienceofsales.io.
Cool. Cool. Once again, thanks for dropping by.
Absolutely. Thanks, Casey. Thanks, Kevin. Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Cool. Ben Tschirgi, Science of Sales. What do you think?
Yeah, interesting
Okay.
stuff. Probably time for me to reread Pitch Anything.
I know. I'd like to read that as well. Right.
It's a really good book, and it's interesting to think about what motivates people. But yeah, that was a fun conversation. Certainly thought provoking.
It was. So, yeah, I mean, I think that's going to wrap the show for this week. I got to make an appointment here across the conference here in the next, I don't know, 10 minutes or so. So, always a fun time. And if you're not at Broker Carrier Summit, you are missing out. You should join us out here in October. We'll be in Orlando, and there'll be another great conference.
Hell yeah. I'm sure that's right. We got Dooner next week.
Oh, we do, don't we? I forgot that was next week. So we have Dooner next week. That'll be interesting. That'll be great.
It will be.
It will be. It will be. It'll be good to be on the same show as him again. We've been on many shows over the years, so it'll be getting the band back together.
Yeah, I love that guy. He's
I do.
lunatic on the fringe, and
He is a lunatic on the fringe.
in the best kind of way.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, next Thursday, 2 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Central, we'll be here with the Dooner.
Amen to that.
Cool. Cool. Until then,
See you, Kev. Happy Thursday, y'all.
happy Thursday.